What's going on, guys? My name is Ducky, and today we're doing something a little different. Now, if you watched my last video, you'll know I talked about the state of Overwatch and where the game might be headed. Now, that video got a lot of people talking, given some of the comments I did delete because they were really stupid, like, oh, Blood thinks it's January. Yeah, well, if you look at my profile, I'm a bit late to topics because, you know, I don't typically do content creation. But honestly, that's exactly what I wanted. You know, stupid comments aside, I want this to be a conversation and not just me ranting into the mic. But one comment in particular really stood out to me. It wasn't rude or anything, it was actually really thoughtful and detailed. They basically broke down my video and pointed out some areas where they thought I was wrong. Stuff like Marvel Rivals was actually dying, Steam charts not being relevant, and how loot boxes always plan to return, and even the fact that, you know, Overwatch is gaining players again. And honestly, I can respect that, because whether I agree or not, they clearly took the time to lay out their point. So instead of just typing up a long reply, I figured why not make a whole video addressing it. That way I can go point by point, break down what they said, and show the evidence behind my own personal stance, and give you guys a clearer picture of where I was coming from in my previous video. Because at the end of the day, I don't just want to sit here bashing Overwatch. I want to talk about the good, the bad, and everything in between. Let's just get straight into it, starting with their very first point. So the first thing they said is that Marvel Rivals is constantly losing players every season. Basically, that it's dying. And sure, like any live service game, Rivals has its ups and downs. Player counts will fluctuate, early hype fades, that is pretty normal. But here's the thing. When we actually look at the numbers, Marvel Rivals hasn't been declining anywhere near the rate Overwatch has been, at least on PC. If you check on Steam charts, Rivals peaked at over 644,000 concurrent players during its launch hype period. Even months later, the monthly averages have been much higher than Overwatch's Steam numbers around the same time, which hit all-time lows of about 16,900 players during content lulls, give or take. Now, I know some people are going to say, Steam doesn't matter because Overwatch players are on Battle.net or consoles, and yeah, that's fair. Steam is only one slice of the PC player base, but PC still makes up over 50% of Overwatch's total audience when you combine Battle.net and Steam. According to estimates from Icon Era, that means Steam is actually a really good public indicator of momentum, because it's visible and it reflects trends in the core PC community. On Xbox and PlayStation, sure, Overwatch is still doing well. It's visible in the top 3 games list, which is great. But those platforms don't always give us exact numbers, and when you compare what's happening on PC, you start to see the bigger picture. Marvel Rivals, despite being new, is holding on to its players in a way that Overwatch hasn't fully managed to do yet, at least on Steam. So while Rivals isn't perfect, and it's natural for a new game to decline after its peak, the statement that it's dying isn't so accurate. The numbers just don't support it, and that's the point I wanted to make. You can't just compare hype peaks without looking at sustained engagement, and Rivals has proven that it can keep people around while Overwatch's PC numbers have been much more exposed. Next up, they did comment that Steam charts don't matter because most Overwatch players are on Battle.net, and again, that is partly true. Blizzard's PC version is mainly on Battle.net, and a lot of players use that platform, but dismissing Steam entirely misses a really important point. Steam is a major public-facing snapshot of the game's PC activity. While exact numbers for Battle.net aren't publicly available, we know Steam has a substantial portion of the PC player base, and according to SteamDB, Overwatch 2 peaked at around 75,000 concurrent players on Steam, with currently daily averages at around 32,000. That's just on Steam and obviously not counting Battle.net. Estimates from Icon Era also suggest that Overwatch 2 has between 24 to 30 million monthly active users globally, with peak concurrent users between 1.6 to 2.1 million. Now, this includes all platforms, PC, Xbox, PlayStation, but it highlights how significant the PC player base is. Some community data suggests that roughly 11% of PC players are on Steam. Now, that might sound small, but when you're talking about millions of players, that's practically hundreds of thousands of active users whose engagement is at least visible to everyone. So why does this matter? Steam charts are public and easy to track, unlike Battle.net. So even if they're not the whole picture, they're a reliable indicator of momentum and trends on PC. When Steam numbers drop, as they have for Overwatch 2 in recent months, it signals a problem that's visible to the community. You can't ignore that, because these public numbers often influence perception, discussion, and hype far more than hidden Battle.net stats ever could. So yes, Battle.net and console numbers matter, but Steam is a major, transparent, and very real part of Overwatch 2's player base. It's not everything, but it's far from meaningless, and as far as numbers go, aside from what Blizzard give us, it's a pretty big indication. To follow this up, the commenter also said that loot boxes were always meant to come back. And I get why they'd think that, but here's the thing. Blizzard explicitly said they were never coming back. After the gambling controversy, this wasn't just a minor promise, it was a public commitment. They removed loot boxes because of concerns about children and gambling, which was a major part of why Overwatch's reputation took a hit in the first place. So when loot boxes came back in February 2025, it wasn't just planned all along, they returned as something you could earn through gameplay. Fine, that's fair, but at the same time, Blizzard introduced a wave of new microtransactions and, on top of the Battle Pass system. Suddenly, legendary skins were costing around $20, mythic skins could cost up to $40 and above, and some bundles were priced at $50. The community reaction was mixed, to put it lightly. Some players liked the transparency of the Battle Pass, but a lot of others felt like it was more of an expensive alternative to loot boxes. So yeah, the commenter is right that loot boxes exist again, but what they miss is the nuance. This wasn't a simple return of old features. Blizzard shifted their monetization model in a way that many players felt was aggressive, expensive, and damaging to the game's reputation, which is what I tried to explain in my previous video. And this, honestly, is exactly what I was trying to point out, in a bigger depth. How Overwatch's reputation has taken hits over these monetization choices. Now, I do want to tackle the competitor comment too. While I get you might say that, it's really missing the bigger picture. Marvel Rivals is definitely a competitor, no question. But it's far from the only game that's challenging Overwatch for player attention and engagement. Take Valorant, for example, developed by Riot Games. Valorant is often called a tactical FPS, and yes, it's very gunplay focused, but the truth is it still has a strong hero concept baked in. Each agent comes with unique abilities that can define the outcome of a match. That's fundamentally the same core concept that Overwatch is built on. And in terms of raw numbers, Valorant has an estimated 16.9 to 19.4 million monthly active users as of September 2025, with over 1 million daily active users. These aren't small numbers, these are serious competitors. Then there's Apex Legends. Now sure, that's technically a battle royale first, but it also incorporates hero shooter elements in a big way. Again, each legend has unique abilities that complement team composition and match strategy, which is the same thing that Overwatch players are doing every single game. It's core gameplay that still revolves around hero mechanics, which, puts it squarely in Overwatch's arena. Now, the point here is that when people dismiss these games as just FPS, or say Rivals is the only real competition that, was hyped up by Marvel, they're somewhat ignoring the fact that the hero concept is thriving across multiple titles. These games might mix in different styles, the tactical FPS, the battle royale, or unique map dynamics, but at their core they rely on characters with distinct abilities interacting in team-based strategic play. That's exactly what defines the hero shooter genre, and that's why they're competitors. Overwatch might be the poster child for this genre, but it's not alone anymore, and these games have been around for quite a summer time. Now, what I will agree on is Overwatch has been bringing players back in. This is something I didn't deny actually, but instead I tried to explain how the actions of Blizzard's monetization was actively drawing players away, with roughly a 40% of the Overwatch fanbase fleeing the game for alternatives like Rivals and Valorant. Overwatch 2 transitioned to a free-to-play model, introducing microtransactions, battle passes, and premium skins. While these strategies are common in the industry, they have faced significant criticism from players. A notable example is the game store, which many players found frustrating due to high skin prices, frequent store refreshes, and the overall cosmetic offerings. This dissatisfaction led to widespread discussions within the community about the game's monetization approach. Critics and industry experts have also weighed in on Blizzard's monetization practices. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying Overwatch is entirely a failure. Stadium was a great idea, and the new progression system, the level-based rewards and perks, absolutely gave players a reason to come back. Even if competitive players sometimes roll their eyes at your hero level XP, it's undeniable that these features helped bring players back from the games like Marvel Rivals, which is a smart move by Blizzard. But here's the thing. Just because it's a good idea to lure players back doesn't excuse the bigger problems. The way Blizzard has handled monetization. With expensive bundles, battle passes and cosmetic paywalls, it is still damaging the game's reputation. Stadium and progression bring the people back, yes, but then Blizzard immediately tries to cash in on them. So while there are positives, and I'll fully give credit where credit is due, they don't erase the fact that the game's overall direction and monetization strategy are slowly eating away at what it made Overwatch so special. So I guess to wrap this up, have my views changed after looking at all this and seeing this comment? Not really. I still think Blizzard has the potential to produce great gameplay. When they focus on actually creating new content instead of just reusing and recoloring old assets, they can make something really special. But with the way the game is monetized, I'm sorry, but I really do see Overwatch as a game that's gonna fail. It's nothing more than a cash cow in Blizzard's own eyes. That said, I do want to give credit where credit is due. I respect Aztec Hydra for their comment. And I agree with the part where they said, is it perfect? No. Did they fumble? Absolutely. Does that mean the game was going to recover? Hell no. It hit rock bottom, which meant they could only go up. That's fair, and they've done exactly that. However, I can't fully agree on their assertion that Overwatch is actually doing more good than bad. At this moment, I see the positives. Stadium and the progression system were smart moves. But in my view, the monetization practices still outweigh those improvements. Before we do wrap up, I want to share the perspective of a friend of mine who's normally a master in competitive play. She had some very detailed thoughts on whether Overwatch is dying or not. I'll show the message on screen so you can see everything for yourselves. When it comes to heroes, she points out that some releases, like Freya, are incredibly strong when mastered and can dominate many matchups. But if Blizzard keeps releasing heroes that are this unbalanced, such as Wu Yang for instance, the game could be in trouble. On the other hand, she sees the quality of life changes like hero bans and map voting as real positives. They mix up the meta, give players more agency, and make the game more enjoyable. She even praised Blizzard for banning over 1 million counts involved in Zim and Cronus cheating, which she calls an absolute win for the community. Her overall take? Overwatch has been getting better and better, with a few misses like some hero releases, but overall the game and quality of life changes have improved things. She also hopes Blizzard won't ruin it, and she makes the important note that some heroes, like Kiriko and Juno, really don't need more skins. Again, this does highlight that over-monetization point I'm trying to get across. From my view, those positives don't fully outweigh the ongoing issues Blizzard has with monetization and reused content, but I can sort of see how her perspective is valuable, and again, I respect all comments like these. I'm all for a good debate. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps me keep making content like this. Drop your thoughts in the comments too. I love hearing your opinions, whether you agree or disagree. Until next time, stay safe, keep grinding, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.